What's up, everybody? 412 Sports Cards here today, back with another video. And today, hyped to be talking about vintage baseball. Had a listener reach out, shout out at the Low NYC on YouTube, commented saying he's been a subscriber since back before 100 subs, mentioned he likes vintage, said he'd be open to buying some vintage baseball, basketball, or football. Said he's looking to invest about $1,000 in 3 to 4 cards. Wanted me to share what would I do with that money. Or at least that's how I interpret it. What do I think he should do? I took it as, what would I do if someone gave me that kind of a spending spree on vintage baseball? And I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. We're going to start it off, lay out the parameters, walk through the decision. This is some of the most fun I've ever had prepping a video in recent memory. Hyped to get into it. Enjoy the vintage in the back. First off, we're buying vintage baseball. I know that football, basketball collectors have always existed in the vintage market, but I think at large, baseball has been far more popular. We've seen cards like maybe a Jim Brown rookie or a Kareem rookie or a George Mikan rookie. Those were popular, but I don't think there's that same depth. In baseball, there's set collectors, tons of vintage set collectors, tons of respect for basically every Hall of Fame player. Their cards garner a ton of money over basically all the years that they had cards. And it sounds a little stupid to me sometimes to be like, oh, but baseball vintage has a track record. And we didn't really see this more respect for vintage basketball and football until recent years. But the more time passes, the more I see the track record matters. NFTs didn't have a track record. Both cards and NFTs to the moon in 2021. Both came down. One came down a lot harder than the other, and it was the one without a track record. Track record's valuable. Baseball has way more of a track record, and I really enjoy it. Even this low-grade stuff, like, this is just kind of a beat, raw Frank Robinson. I think this is 65. Is that what this is? Yeah, 65 tops. Look at that. Awesome card. Just looks so nice. But we got to choose the cards that we're going after. There's important aspects here. We got player, we've got year, pop, grade. There's a lot to choose. We're going to be looking at this from both an investing and slightly just like a collecting, enjoying my personal flair and what I enjoy. But the players, there's big names that stick out to me. Vintage baseball, you said you're interested in 50s, 60s. Mantle's obviously the first name that comes to mind. But the names I'm going to go through are Mantle, Mays, Hank Aaron, Jackie Robinson, and Roberto Clemente. Those are the names for me, at least the big names. Mantle's obviously a huge name, but it comes at a price. And in recent years, you know, with how hyped that 52 Mantle got, this is not to say it was not always hyped, but the prices began to reflect more of an appreciation than they previously had. Prices are high, and the prices that are high, they permeate into his later year stuff. I'm a little hesitant personally on Mantle with the runs on the price. That said, New York market cannot be understated how important that is. Can't be understated the importance of the 52 Mantle, which even before the big price runs of late was extremely respected, probably respected as the second best baseball card ever made after the Wagner. I know his stuff's come down to earth, but it still feels a little frothy, maybe, for me, in a way that I don't like my vintage to feel. I like to buy vintage that does not feel that way. Next up, we're going to Mays. I'm going to have to keep it rolling, otherwise this is going to be a really long video. I prepped a lot. Mays is my favorite one here. He's the best buy, in my opinion. He was a 5-tool player. Great career. I mean, I think it's not insane to say that he would be argued to be the best baseball player ever. He's got awesome cards. I don't think that's crazy to say. And it sounds a little morbid, and I don't necessarily condone a lot of the behavior that goes on around this, but you can't deny the truth. I mean, Willie Mays is still with us, but when he is no longer, his cards will appreciate. It just always happens. I'm not saying I condone, a lot of the bad behavior that goes on around that, but it is the truth, and all players, all the cards of players tend to go up at that point, not just autos. But Hank Aaron, next guy, awesome career, 54 tops right there. I think that's my favorite baseball card ever produced. I mean, it just looks unreal. The orange just looks so nice. We gotta show this one off. Look at that, guys. Look at that orange. Back's a little beat up. I'll be honest, probably not the nicest 4 that exists, but I mean, it just looks so nice. Look at the vintage baseball. This is vintage baseball. I really don't want to ever have to sell that. I really enjoy that card. But next up, Jackie Robinson. Cultural significance off the charts. Similar to Mantle in that his stuff has run a lot in recent years. His stuff has seen, I think, perhaps even more appreciation than Mickey Mantle over the last 3-4 years. But he's pretty relevant culturally, increasingly so. And I think that's significant. That makes me more comfortable with him than with Mantle. Roberto Clemente, as a Pirates fan, is just, how can you pass it up? 55 tops rookie, legend of the game. His rookie's iconic. It's in the same rookie year as Sandy Koufax. It's just an iconic card. He's got a lot of nice stuff. Yeah, he's one of the greats of the game that played during that golden era. He doesn't have the stuff pre-55, but he played during the golden era. The year, obviously, I think 50s come at a pretty big premium over 60s. I think the print runs are just lower in the 50s. The pop count doesn't necessarily tell you this story. It's a little misleading just because bigger sets get graded more. So like these 50s sets, I think of a higher graded count. So like 52 tops, 281,000, 54, 171K or 170K in the PSA registry. 65 tops, 268K. Doesn't seem that different. But I think that's just because the 50s stuff is so graded because it's nicer stuff. Whereas a lot of the 60s stuff sits ungraded. I mean, look at me right here. I've got 2 60s ungraded cards and my 50s cards in a slab. I just think there's a lot more slabbed 50s stuff. Pop doesn't tell you the whole story. I personally prefer the 50s stuff to the 60s stuff from a value standpoint. And now we get into grade, which is the next part of making this decision. Where do I want to be on the grade standpoint? I think I want to be above a 1. I probably want to be at a PSA 3. That's where the quality starts to really increase. And I think that at a 1, the eye appeal can be sketchy. A 2, the eye appeal can be sketchy. When you get to a 3, the eye appeal is looking pretty good. Like this is a 4, but there's a world in which this is a nice 3. The centering's not great, right? But has great the registration on it is very good. I think this is a nice 3. So you can see the quality you're getting at a nice 3. I think this is a low 4 nice 3. But you can see the quality. It's really good. This, Frank Robinson presents nicely in the front, but the back is pretty beat. I think this is a nice spot to be at. I should have brought my 1969 Reggie Jackson out to show you guys, but I forgot. PSA 3, I think, the prices are pretty reasonable. I don't like to be in the PSA 1 ballpark because I feel like that's where the people that are reaching are. They're reaching to get a copy of that card. The prices, I think, can be inflated for the quality. That's not to say I haven't bought PSA 1s, but I think you're reaching and you're spending a lot for the relative quality, whereas if you're buying cards that are cheaper to begin with and that you have the room to get into that PSA 3 range, I think you're just getting much more value for the copies that you're buying. I just like the value proposition a lot better. But the last point is you just gotta choose based on year. I really like 54 tops. I love 65 tops. Up to you on year. But those are the parameters we're looking. And here's my decision. We got $1,000. I'm buying Jackie Robinson. I'm buying Willie Mays. And I'm buying Roberto Clemente. Those are my buys. I'm happy. Those ones are leagues ahead of Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle, in my opinion. Roberto Clemente's a little more sus. Willie Mays and Jackie Robinson, I'm strong buy on. But we got to make choices. Choice number 1, and I'm going to get this on the screen here for you guys, or I guess it'd be up here, is a 54 tops Willie Mays PSA 3. It's an early issue. Beautiful design, that yellow background. Very similar to this 54 Hank Aaron. Not gonna lie, prefer the Hank Aaron. I just think the Hank Aaron the picture on it, I think, is so good with that orange. The orange that still pops after all these years, 70 years later almost. Big set being 54 tops. Third top set. I think those first three top sets, 52, 53, 54, they're all vertical before you go to the 55 that's horizontal. I think those first three sets, in my opinion, garner a lot of respect. And you're getting a great value. $450, let's call it, based on recent comps. PSA 3, you're getting a copy that's looking pretty much of this quality. Willie Mays, not rookie, but $450. Yeah, sign me up for that. And by the way, I'm so passionate about this video that I think I really want to go out and spend this money on these exact cards. Really want to. I'd really like to buy them at a show, but yeah, love this stuff. Next up, Jackie Robinson. Catch it up there. 1956 tops, PSA 3. So this is the same picture that's on the 55, but it's slightly cheaper. Has a little painted baseball scene in the background. Pretty cool, to be honest. But it's cheaper marginally than the 55. But we're talking about what we're buying. This is real life that I'm supposed to be emulating. I don't want that yellow Willie Mays background and that yellow Jackie Robinson. We went with the 56 for that reason. $400 here. So note how we're spending $850 of the $1,000 on Jackie Robinson and Willie Mays. That's intentional. It's because I think they're the best buys. And you have some liberty in the year you choose, but I really like those two cards at those prices. I just see such limited downside. You're not at that PSA 1 that I think has a little more downside. You're at a PSA 3. You're at a nice copy. Great players. All time. Not just Hall of Famers, but all timers. Next up, we're going off the board and a little bit outside of the range of the question, but Clemente, I'm going all the way to 1972. And we're bringing in a PSA 6, 1972 tops. It's got that iconic Pirates, vibrant colors right along the top. It's a little bit of a different design from the 50s vintage feel, but it's still a very vintage looking card before we migrate into the late 70s, which begin to look more of a modern card in my opinion. Really a big fan of this card. And it's getting us a copy that's in PSA 6 quality. So previously we had PSA 3s. Because we're going with such a late year, we're getting access to PSA 6 quality at only $150, rounding out our $1,000. And that's it. Those are my answers for this challenge. Hard to go wrong, really, with any years of these three guys, but I just love this collection for $1,000. I think this is what I would want to... This is exactly what I would buy if I was given $1,000 in vintage baseball. 100% what I'd buy. Let me know what your thoughts are. What are the vintage cards you're chasing? Drop a like, drop a sub, especially if you stuck with us this whole time and you enjoyed this type of content. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.